if you want to know how you can take a big leap in your career, this podcast is for you. In this podcast, I have someone with me who has done a, done it already. He has been a CEO, he has been a CFO, and now he is running his own firm, Equizen. And today, so guys, today I have with me Mr. Sanjay Parikh sir. Sir is a CA and CFA as well. So without further ado, I would like to invite sir. And sir, welcome to our podcast. And first of all, I want you to introduce yourself to our audience and what we are doing and how was the journey until now. So, sir, over to you. Yeah, you are the better person to tell us everything. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Prince. Thank you so much for this invite. Happy to be on your show and happy to reach out to all the members of your audience. As you mentioned, I passed my CA in 1991. Just to sorry, 1991 is when I graduated. So I started my CA in 1991, and it was a very funny kind of a story. I actually wanted to do an MBA. But I found the CAT entrance exam a little tough, and I didn't get an invite from any of the IIMs, and therefore I pivoted to doing a CA. And luckily, I was graduating from one of the best commerce colleges in India, the Sydenham College of Commerce and Economics in Mumbai. And there was this firm called Arthur Anderson, which was one of the big six accounting firms across the world, who was looking for article clerks to join their firm. And I really liked their proposition. They said that they are not looking for people who will come and work with them just for a period of 3 years, but they are looking for people who will come and spend a lifetime with them and make a career with them. So I found that interesting, and I had got into some other good firms also, like A.F. Ferguson and C.C. Choksi and whatnot. Uh, but I liked Arthur Anderson's proposition, and therefore I took up their offer, and that's how my whole CA journey started. So I ended up working in Arthur Anderson for almost 4 years. I was in their tax division. I finished my CA then. I cleared my inter in the first attempt, but in the final attempt, I didn't clear in the first attempt. So I studied hard for the second attempt, and fortunately, I was able to secure a rank in the final exam. And because of that rank, I got invites from a lot of companies to come and join them. Uh, I went and met Hindustan Lever. I went and met Citibank. I got called for further interviews, but then I got an opportunity to meet Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla, who was the vice chairman of the Aditya Birla Group. And when I met him, and I had no intentions of joining the Birla Group, I just went to meet him because, I thought it would be interesting to meet Mr. Birla. But when I met him, he asked me what I wanted to do, and I told him that, I've been doing tax work for the last 4 years, and I really would like to understand the other parts of the P&L revenues and expenses and whatnot. So interestingly, he offered me a role in his office.
Okay, great.
I got sort of taken aback by the whole thing. But I thought over it, and I have spoke to a few people, and I thought it would be interesting experience. A lot of people actually discouraged me, saying that, from Arthur Andersen, from a multinational firm, you will go and join a traditional a Marwadi company. Uh, but I thought that, if I can't take a risk at the age of 24, when will I possibly take a risk? So I ended up joining them. And I worked for the group for almost 12 years. So I worked in Mr. Birla's office for almost 5 years. I got a very good understanding of many industries like cement, carbon black, sponge iron, mobile phones, all the industries that the Birla Group is participating in even today. And but after 5 years, I felt the need to do something different.
Okay.
I was doing the same job for more than 5 years. Of course, there were different industries that I used to look at, but still the whole process was more or less the same. So that's when life insurance was opening up in India, and the Birla Group was getting into a joint venture with Sun Life of Canada. So I thought, okay, here is a new industry, which will be different from the traditional Birla culture, and therefore I joined life insurance. I, uh, though I was a chartered accountant, I had never done accounting. I had never done an audit. So I thought that, let me do some accounting. I joined the insurance company as head of accounting, and I was like the 13th employee in a startup. And we got a license in March of 2001, and we started selling life insurance policies. And I stayed with that company for almost 6 years. But in those 6 years, I was doing two roles. I did head of accounting for almost 2.5 years, and then again I got tired of doing that role. So the company offered me a head of product development role. New products were slowing down, and therefore they wanted somebody senior to, take that up and start designing and introducing new products. So I took that up, and I had a very, very good time doing that. It was a very different role. It gave me an opportunity to go out and meet people in sales, meet customers, meet distributors. I really enjoyed that role. It really sort of was a foundation for what I'm doing today.
Right,
I
sir.
looked at mutual funds as to what they were doing. I compared mutual funds to life insurance products. I did all of those things. And during this time, I also took up CFA. So I was in insurance when I started my CFA, and luckily I was able to finish it consecutive in 3 consecutive years. So by 2005, I had finished doing CFA, and that's when a new opportunity came up as CFO of Birla Mutual Fund. So I thought, okay, I'd spent 6 years in life insurance. With my CFA qualification, I thought getting into investment firm would be interesting. And also I was getting the CXO kind of a designation. So I took that up,
Great, sir.
joined the mutual fund industry. Uh, and after that, I spent almost 12 odd years in the mutual fund industry, no, 14 actually. So from Birla Mutual Fund, I joined Taurus Mutual Fund as Chief Operations Officer. I worked in Taurus for 6 years. But during that period, the 2008 global financial crisis happened, and investors became very cautious of dealing with the smaller mutual funds. So Taurus had a tough time. I mean, all mutual funds had a tough time, but Taurus had an even more difficult time. But we managed to overcome that, and we were able to do some business. But in 2014, I realized that Taurus was not really going to work out for me in the long term, and therefore I moved to Deutsche Bank's mutual fund. I was there for close to 2 years, but then they sold the business, so I moved to Mahindra Manulife mutual fund. They were again getting into the mutual fund business. So again, it was a startup. So I joined Mahindra Mutual Fund. We launched the first scheme. We built the business, and in 2020, I had this itch of getting into sales and distribution. So I joined Mahindra Finance as head of financial products distribution, and I was there for almost 3 years. Then I left Mahindra Finance, and I joined Enam Asset Management as Group COO. So that was my first move out of mutual funds and into PMS. But things didn't really work out there for me, and that's when I decided that I need to do something on my own. So I started my own wealth management firm called Equizen. The whole objective is very simple. Keep the client at the center of what you are trying to do. Help them achieve their goals. Sell them the right products which are good for them and not necessarily good for you from an earnings perspective. Overall, that's my story, Prince. Happy to take further questions.
Got the point, sir, and a wonderful story. Like I was listening, like I love. There's a constant pattern, like 4, 4, 6, 10. Like these are years, like you spent with some good firms. Like it's not like that you're switching very fast, but taking strategic call, tactical decision as well. So
Yeah.
that's great thing to learn from your journey. Like 4 year, and then 6, 7 years at a firm, so that you get all the understandings and all. So, sir, so my first question is like you said like when you were switching from your first role, people discouraged you from joining Bill and all. So that was a risk you took that time. So, sir, tell me something about risk. Like there are people who are very much settled in their career. Like if we see now that there are mid-career crisis sort of thing. Like after working 4 or 5 years in a firm, people like to feel that I'm doing the repeated work and there is nothing, no growth, there is nothing new to learn. So uh, first of all, everyone realizes that it at certain point of time, or is it happens to some people who are really ambitious or kind of things. So what's your take, sir?
So it's hard to say, what really motivates and drives other people. So wherever I have worked, I have seen that there are people who are comfortable working in one company for a long period of time. There are people who are comfortable doing different things. So people get motivated by different factors. Some people get motivated by, security. Like they are comfortable staying in one company because, either because of lack of opportunity. So let's say in large groups like Mahindras and Birlas who have factories and offices all over the country. There are people working in smaller cities and smaller towns. So it may not be possible for them to get opportunities which are, let's say, the bigger than the Mahindras or the Birlas in smaller towns, like let's say an Indore or a Jaipur or some of that. I may be wrong. Don't get me.
Right, sir.
Some people might say you are wrong. There can be big opportunities, but I'm just giving you an example.
Example.
So let's say if you're working in a factory in a village, where could you possibly go in that village? And people get comfortable, your family settles down in a particular city, your children go to school, so you don't really want to uproot your family, you don't really want to take a risk of doing something different, right? So it's all is driven by various factors, people's own personalities, where what are they comfortable with. A lot of people have moved from smaller cities to larger towns and have done very well. They have become CEOs and they have become MDs. So is it possible for people to get decent careers even from smaller towns? Absolutely, right? If you are in financial services, you have to be in Mumbai, right? So I've seen some of my colleagues who have been salespeople in smaller towns, then they moved to the capital of their respective states, then they moved to Mumbai, then they became head of sales, then they became CEO. So all of those things do happen. Of course, you need to have those opportunities, and more importantly, you should be open to those opportunities, and you
Right.
should be able to take that risk of moving from, let's say, a Delhi to a Mumbai, or from a Mumbai to a Pune or to Bangalore, or things like that. I've had a friend of mine has, though he was in Mumbai all his life, he moved to Bangalore. Then his job took him to Chennai. Um,
Okay.
Today he works in Bangalore, but today he works in Mumbai, but his family is still based in Bangalore. So he sort of goes up and down between Mumbai and Bangalore. And I also know of people who have families in Mumbai and who work in Singapore and
Okay.
going up and down. So these things keep happening, and you have to be flexible and you have to be adaptable.
Right, sir. Yeah, 2, 3 factors that you have mentioned, like people sometimes get comfortable. Some people are open to more opportunities, and there is some risk appetite as well, like some kind of. If you want to take that, you can do it. So, if we talked about CA final attempts, we have some of the people who are going to appear for their CA final exams inside our community as well. So, what do you say that? I know that some of them are preparing, they are appearing in 2027. They are going to appear in 2027. Now they are still preparing from like 2025, say, for final exams. So, what do you want to say to CA final people who actually are two, three people are going to watch? I know personally that. So, what do you want to say them? Ki, how they need to prepare, and if they want to crack it and like uh, they want to give it a their best shot. So, what should be the approach for CA finals? And you are a rank holder as well. So, what are your learnings? So, can you share that, sir, please?
So I've just given the exam twice.
No worries, sir. Second one was better.
So I think I think you of course have to work hard, go through the entire syllabus. And this is where, everyone should get a good understanding of, our own selves. Like, what is the best way we learn? Okay, do we learn by reading? Do we learn by talking? Do we learn by reading and writing it down? What is the best way that we first learn? Okay, do we find it easier to learn in the mornings? Do we find it easier to study at home? Do we find it easier to study in a library when we are seeing other people also study? Uh, is it better to discuss a concept with your friends and with your colleagues who are also studying at the same time, and you understand the concept? So remember that when you're studying anything, the whole objective is not to clear an exam. The whole objective is to being able to apply that knowledge in a real world situation. So if you're studying for your CA final exam, you're studying income tax, you're studying indirect taxes, you're studying audit procedures, you're studying accounting standards, you're studying financial management. So whether you want to do a career in taxation, whether you want to do a career in accounting, or whether you want to do a career in audit, all of those things will be required to for you to do a good job going forward, right? People are hiring you because you are a chartered accountant. They assume that you have a certain level of knowledge.
Right,
Right. Everybody knows that nobody is getting 100% marks. People are getting 60% marks, 40% marks, 70% marks, 80%. मतलब आपको थोड़ी चीज समझ में नहीं आ रही. If you are earning 60% marks, मतलब 40% या तो आपने अटेम्प्ट नहीं किया है, या आपने गलत आंसर दिया है, या आपको समझ में ही नहीं आया. And people are willing to give you that concession. So learning never comes to you may pass the exam, but does it mean that you can forever forget about that 40% portion that you have not done well in your exams? No, it will come, right? If your client wants you to do a tax provision which you have not understood while giving the exam, you will have to study that subject later on. Income Tax Act. I told you that for 4 years I was doing taxation in Arthur Anderson. So we used to advise our clients on taxation. I never did an audit during my articles, right? So I must be one of those very few article clerks who never did an audit in their entire career, right? But I went on to become CFO. I was CFO for almost 12, 14 years. And because my accounting fundamentals were strong, I never found it a challenge to, you know, dealing with auditors or being able to explain the financial statements to a board of directors. I mean, for almost 12, 14 years, I've attended so many board meetings. But if you do your homework, if you are prepared, okay, it's like when you go for an exam, you have to prepare, right? I mean, after you start working, there is an exam every day.
right,
Every minute of the day, there is an exam because there is somebody who's judging you. There is somebody who's always trying to figure out कि अरे ये बंदा काम कर पाएगा कि नहीं कर पाएगा. Will he deliver on the job or not? It's like an exam, right? Only thing is that at the end of the year, your performance appraisal will be done, that which will determine whether you will get promoted or not and what kind of increment or how much bonus you will get. So it's an exam, and for whether you are preparing for a handwritten exam or whether you are preparing for a daily exam, You need to work hard. You need to cover the entire portion. You need to plan for it so that you cover the entire portion and you do it consciously. Okay, one mistake that I used to make is कि अच्छा ये सब्जेक्ट में 10 पेज है, तो ये मेरे को हर घंटे 4 पेज पढ़ के मेरे को इसको 20 घंटे में खत्म करना है. Now when I think about it, I feel that's the wrong way to do it. The right way to do it is you understand each page, you read each page, then you think about it. Okay, what did I learn? Can I really explain this to my neighbor? Can I explain it to a person whom I meet in the bus in simple terms? If you can, then you have understood it. If you have understood it, it will stay with you for life. अगर आप इतनी मेहनत कर रहे हो कुछ भी सीखने के लिए, तो उसको ढंग से आप सीखोगे तो आपको जिंदगी भर आपके साथ रहेगा. फिर 25 साल के बाद भी अगर आपको कोई पूछेगा कि ये अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड में क्या था, या फिर ये केस लॉ में इनकम टैक्स में व्हाट वाज द इशू, यू विल बी एबल टू रिमेंबर इट because you have understood it conceptually. You don't have to mug it. Whatever you mug, whatever you're trying to remember, you will forget. But if you have understood something conceptually, it will be with you for the rest of your life.
Right, sir. 2 points. So, sir, we recently talked about degrees. Like degrees help you set foot in the door. So, whenever people are hiring, so मतलब how you have been to different roles, like different in hierarchy. So, what's your take on degrees, having good like people if people are like having good qualification? So, what advantage or edge it gives to them, or if we compare like to the people who do not have that much degrees, so there are both sort of people who are doing well with degrees, but there are some people who do not have that much degrees, but they actually want to move ahead. So what's your take on that, sir?
So degrees, the thing is that India has such a large population. And we talk about the demographic dividend. So what does the demographic dividend mean? That between the ages, out of the 140 crore or people, most of our people are between the ages of 18 to 40. Okay, so these are the earning people. They have the ability to earn. They are neither too young, nor are they too old. But it also means that there are quite a few applicants for every job that is there in the market. Okay, now how do you figure out who can, who is the best person to do a particular job? Okay, so that's where your education, your family background, which college you went to, which degree do you have, that plays a role, right? A chartered accountant is always better than a graduate. A graduate is always better than a 12th pass. A 12th pass is always better than a 10th pass. Again, if you want to compare between two chartered accountants, then you say, okay, a rank holder is definitely better than somebody who has just passed. A rank holder who has cleared in the first attempt is definitely could be better. Could be, I'm saying there are no hard and fast rules about this. Does it mean that a graduate is not as smart as a chartered accountant? No. But on the face of it, without meeting a person, just अगर आपको दो सीवी दिख रहे हैं तो आप कैसे जज करोगे कि मेरे को किसको मिलना है? Okay, so that is how a degree helps you. Okay, and everybody is hiring people because they want to get some work done. Okay, their objective is to let me hire somebody who has the best opportunity or the best probability of getting the work done. If I want to make a balance sheet, okay, if I want somebody to come and handle my entire accounting, taxation, uh, finalization of balance sheet, auditing of that balance sheet, who's the best guy to do it, right? Is it a graduate? Is it a fresh chartered accountant? Or is it somebody with a chartered accountant with 15 years of experience? So when you hire a CFO, you are looking at a chartered accountant with some years of experience. If you are hiring somebody in your accounting department in the middle management, you are okay with a fresh chartered accountant. But if you're hiring somebody to just do accounting entries and accounting payables, you're happy with even a graduate with some years of experience or even a fresh graduate.
Got
Okay.
the points.
So degrees are only a better way of for hirers to figure out, the person who will best deliver what they want to be delivered. Okay.
Like it's a criteria for the, yeah.
Yeah, even a few days ago when I was in this CFA charter award ceremony, so many young CFAs would come up to me and say, "Oh, is a CFA good enough? Do I need to do an MBA? Should I do a CA?" So what I tell them is that the challenge is that even an IIM Ahmedabad graduate is doing a CFA. Now, why is he doing a CFA? Arey bhai, you are already in the best management school, probably in the world, if not in India, right? But he's competing with those other 200 graduates in his batch. Okay, he wants to prove to the employer that I am better than the other 150 IMA graduates who are just MBAs. Okay, I am a CFA and an MBA. So imagine if you have to choose between two IIM Ahmedabad graduates, you like both of them. Okay, both of them are smart, both of them have done well in IIM Ahmedabad. Whom will you choose? Will you choose? Then you will, that's where that additional degree
Comes
will
into
come in,
play. ओके सर
right?
सर एक थोड़ा सा कंट्रा व्यू है मतलब एक व्यू है थोड़ा सा ओपिनियन देखते हैं कि मतलब क्या इस पे व्हाट्स योर थॉट ना सो द व्यू इज दैट कि अगर हम देखें ना अपने फाइनेंस वर्ल्ड में तो कहीं ना कहीं जो एसेट मैनेजमेंट इंडस्ट्री को जितना मैं जानता हूँ सो इट्स मोर लाइक कि देयर आर not much products क्या है as a people are delivering their services like their expertise so कहीं ना कहीं there is no very solid product so people kind of are the product because when we sell to clients like when we are doing meetings so how we differentiate how we are going to do great with their funds so we say that we have this much CAs this much CFAs this much XYZ so people clients have more trust in the firm or in the organization to whom they are giving their money so what's that view like sir can you elaborate on that
I mean, ultimately, if you don't have any history, right,
right
you will then look at your past experience and you can say that, okay, this is what we have done. So let's say you are a fund manager. Okay, a fund manager has recently been appointed as the fund manager of a scheme where you are already invested.
right
Now you had invested in the fund assuming that the old fund manager will continue who had a good track record, right? Now you suddenly the AMC has brought in a new fund manager. Okay, so you will look at their past track record to say that okay, where were they working earlier?
right
What was the performance of those schemes? Okay, what is their educational qualifications? Do they have lots of experience or not? So if the fund manager is a chartered accountant or a CFA, and already been managing funds for 15, 20 years, that will give you some amount of comfort that they will do a good job. Will you be comfortable if a fresh young graduate is given that responsibility? You won't be. You will say कि अरे ये कहाँ से आ गया, इसका तो ना तो एजुकेशनल क्वालिफिकेशन है ना कोई एक्सपीरियंस है. You may even prefer a chartered accountant with 10, 15 years of experience compared to a graduate with no experience, right? So that is how experience and educational qualifications can play an important role.
Right, sir. I asked this question because so many people have great ambitions, and if you actually want to reach like such places that sir just talked about, like portfolio manager and head of the department and all, so people see qualification, like how they are going to trust you if you have a good track record. If you don't have that much experience, so your education come into play. So that's a fair thing, like. Okay, so
Yeah.
I have been in the CFA committee for the past few years, and I learned that there is a differentiation. People are just doing CFA, and people do not know the ultimate power of CFA. What I have realized that many people miss out on this part. The ultimate power for me that has worked till now is like the CFA's vast network. No, like there is someone to help you at some place every time you need help. Even how we are connected for this podcast. So we are part of CFA fraternity. So you sir guide on this power of CFA. People are just missing it. They just are rushing behind CA, CFA, and other degrees as well, but they are not making the most of the CFA network. So please enlighten on this point, sir.
See, you have to create a network
Right.
wherever you are. Okay, let me give you an example of what I did when I joined the mutual fund industry in the year 2006. Okay, I was the CFO of Birla Mutual Fund. Okay, I was handling finance and accounts and operations. I reached out to all my peers in the other mutual funds, and I actually took the effort of going and meeting them. Okay, so as a result of that, in the future, whenever there is some question that you have, okay, as to how do you interpret a particular SEBI regulation, or what is the industry's view on this, or if your sales guy comes and tells you कि अरे इंडस्ट्री में ऐसे हो रहा है, आप ही अलाउ नहीं कर रहे हो, बाकी सब लोग तो कर रहे हो, you can pick up the phone and speak to your peer in the other company and say अरे भाई मैंने ऐसा सुना है तुम कर रहे हो क्या. Okay, so this is the advantage. Now whether you want to believe them or not believe them, or what, whether you want to change your view is a different matter.
Right.
But the network at least gives you the opportunity to pick up the phone and do this. So that I found very, very useful. Okay. Now the good thing is that the AMC industry is not like a CFA industry, right? The CFA industry has got people all over the industry, in asset management, in insurance, in wealth management, in broking, in research, and there are programs being done. There are WhatsApp groups where you can post a question and you can get a response. So this is really what you can say an organized way of reaching out to
People.
and getting an answer to so many of the questions that you may have. I think you and I are in some WhatsApp groups and you see so many people saying, "Oh, I want this information," or "I want to connect with somebody who's in this company." And there is always a response that comes, so आपके मन में जो भी क्वेश्चन है, आपके मन में जो भी इशू है, उसका आपको समाधान मिल जाता है. So the power of networking is very, very important, and I would strongly urge everybody to, not isolate themselves into what they are doing. You should network not only within your company, within your department, but within other departments, with other companies. Always step out of your office and do it. And that is what I always done. The reason why I am an active volunteer with the CFA community is because it gave me an opportunity to step out of my office. And you don't have to do it every day. Even if you do it 2 or 3 times a month, it's good enough. You would have done very well if you can do it at least 2 or 3 times a month. That is 20 to 25 times in a year. That's a very good number. If not 2 or 3 times in a month, even if you can do it 2 times in a quarter, you will still be doing something very good, which will help your career going forward.
Okay, fine, sir. Oh, sir, one thing, matlab, you have been at good places like lead the organization and all. So after doing my CFA and all, so I was analyzing, I was reading some psychology aspect, like how different people are. So I read a book like there's 16 personality type of people. There is a psychologist. There was a psychologist like Jung karke. So he brought out this theory that there are 16 different type of people, and they have classified them into four category, four buckets. So basically, idea is that not everyone is suited to do every task. Like just say, I have seen, we all agree that finance is a world driven by numbers. There are because every decision you need to take on data, like data driven decisions are required in this world. So uh, do organization assess people before taking them into their culture and all? So because there are people who are not fit for some roles and still are there. So that's why they struggle in those roles, because it's the ultimate theory, and people are not suited for every role. People want to be research analysts, but they do not have that like uh, internal part so that they can deal with number all the time and all. So do big organization have some kind of analysis and all, so that they can filter out the people based on these criteria as well?
Yes, so some of the large organizations do ask you to do a psychometric test,
Psychometric test.
okay, to figure out whether, there is something in your personality that is probably not be suitable for the job that their role that they are envisaging for you. Okay. But that is something for that only very, very large organizations do. Organizations with mature, uh, you know, organizational development and HR policies. Okay. And this is something that, organizations need to keep doing continuously.
Right.
I have seen most of the leaders and most of the companies fail at doing this at for especially for the leadership roles. And even people, have a very poor understanding about themselves, as to what is it that they like doing, what is it that they're good at, what is it that they don't like doing. So if you are very if you have a very conscious understanding of what you do, like I started off by saying, okay, do
Knowing
you have an
yourself.
understanding
Yeah.
of how you learn?
Yes.
Do you learn by reading? Do you learn by talking? Do you learn by writing? So it's the same thread that, okay, there are some people who like to talk, who are extroverts, who like dealing with people. They don't like looking at large documents. They don't like reading emails. There are some people who like to read. They want to sit in a corner. They don't want to be disturbed. They are extremely introverted. There are people who are extroverts who, if you ask them to sit in one room and read one document and conclude on something, they will not be able to do it. In 10 minutes, they will become very jittery. They will become anxious. They will want to go out, talk to people, you know. So all of these things are very, very individualistic. You need to understand what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and be very conscious as to what is it that you like to do. Like, I'm a person who likes to do things independently. I don't like to be told कि तुमको ये करना है. Okay. I feel that I have the ability to figure things out. I have the ability to take a decision, and I have the ability to execute a decision. If there's somebody sitting on my shoulder all the time, looking at me, what I'm doing, and telling me what needs to be done, I'm saying, boss, तू ही कर ले यार. I mean, मेरे से नहीं है." Okay.
Right, sir. Got the
Uh,
point.
so so that's what you need to figure out, and take that into account while you are. So one of the things that I realized is that I like to do different things. I like to do different roles. I like to do different jobs. And there are so companies like the Birla Group and the Mahindra Group were ideal for me. Why? Because you have the ability there to work in different industries, to maybe, work in the financial service industry, then come back to a corporate function, okay? And then maybe go and work in some manufacturing industry, then maybe go and work in textiles. So for me, that would have been ideal. Now, unfortunately, I didn't realize it at that point of time. I should have realized it and, stayed back in the Birla Group. But this is something that I would advise to all the young people watching this, that figure it out as to what is it that you want, and then act accordingly. So even during the CFA charter holder ceremony, so many people came up to me and said, oh, I'm doing equity research, I want to do this. I'm somebody who's doing what they want to do, to do what they are doing. So the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, right? I mean, you know, you can take certain decisions from a perspective of promotions, from a perspective of compensation, but ultimately, we have to realize that we are going to spend a lot of time at work, okay? And if we are going to not enjoy it, it's going to have a huge impact on our daily lives. It's going to impact your family. It's going to impact you. If it's going to stress you out, no amount of compensation, no amount of designation is going to compensate you for stress, you know. So you
Right,
have to
sir.
figure out what is it that you enjoy. एंड उसके लिए अगर आपको डेजिग्नेशन छोड़ना भी पड़े और थोड़ी कम compensation भी लेना पड़े, आई वुड थिंक दैट इट्स स्टिल वर्थ इट, यू नो. अल्टीमेटली, यू नो, व्हाट आर यू हैव टू टेक अ सिनेरियो दैट, यू नो, 30 साल के बाद आपको क्या याद रहेगा.
Right,
विल
sir.
यू रिमेंबर योर डेजिग्नेशन और विल यू रिमेंबर दोस की थिंग्स, अरे यार उस कंपनी में मैंने ये प्रोजेक्ट किया था and you know I really had a good time doing it, or in that company I got this client and I was able to help them do something and they were very very successful. So you will recall some of these things. You are not going to recall, you know, oh, in that year I got a 30% salary hike, or, you know, I got a double promotion or something. You may still recall it, but if you will recall it if you really enjoyed what you have done.
Right, sir. So the people who are watching this podcast, और सर ने भी काफी बोला, तो काफी बार रिपीट कर दिया कि first know yourself. So if you want to truly know yourself, so there is a guide at least. So go on www.16personalities.com. At least you get an idea. It's a free test. Take it and understand how you are as a person. And इस पे एक बुक भी है, मैं लिंक दूंगा इसके नीचे, वीडियो के नीचे. So if you want to go in depth, like so 16 personalities, how people are like inbuilt जैसे बोलते हैं ना, inbuilt आया है तो फोन में, so आपके साथ क्या inbuilt आया है, so आप उसको समझ पाओगे, और आप उसको समझ लोगे तो you will be able to add better value, like जितना अच्छे से आप वैल्यू एक्सचेंज कर पाओगे, so लाइफ भी मजेदार हो जाएगी. So सर, नेक्स्ट थिंग वाज दैट कि you have seen life or career from a very top level like CFOs and CEO good roles. So just how people think and act at that position, like you are not doing at like this personal level completing your task, you are executing, like you are taking a organization level perspective, and the objective is to move the organization ahead by keeping everyone intact, aligned. So how people think at these positions, yes sir, थोड़ा सा.
Yeah, so you know when you are at a CXO kind of a position, you always have to look a little further. Okay. Okay, what are we going to do? Because you have to plan ahead and then you have to execute. Okay.
Okay.
There are some roles where, you know, let's say if you're in operations role, the activities are very, very well defined, you know.
Yes
हर
sir.
सुबह आना है, पोर्टफोलियो देखना है, फिर डिसाइड करना है कैश कितना आया, कैश अगर है तो डिप्लॉय करना है, अगर कैश जनरेट करना है तो कुछ सेल करना है, क्या सेल करना है. सो इट्स अ वेरी डिफाइंड काइंड ऑफ अ रोल. ओके, बट फॉर द लास्ट 15-20 years I have not had a defined role. Okay, so I had to actually go to work and figure out कि करना क्या है. Okay.
Okay.
Because I had some very fixed activities that I used to do. Okay, I would review the daily MIS, but then try to find out ki what's not working there. Okay, or if some customer will call up and complain, then you do a deep dive into that process and say, okay, what do I need to change here? Okay, so it's more a very high level kind of a view. It's more of a forward thinking kind of a view that, okay, if something is coming up, if some regulation is coming up, but then how will we implement it? If you have if your volumes are going up, then how will we, do we have the capacity to handle, you know, a 25% growth in volumes? And if we can't do it, then what do we need to do? Do we need to hire people? Do we need to automate certain tasks? You know, so always look at initiating new projects and executing them and completing them. So you will get a lot of ideas, but then you have to prioritize कि अच्छा इसमें से कितने करने हैं, कितने छोड़ देने हैं, कितने को पोस्टपोन करने हैं, right? Because you can't end up doing everything at all points of time. You will end up doing nothing. Okay, this is a very, very important lesson that I have learned in my career, is that always try to do 2 or 3 things only at one point of time. उससे ज़्यादा कुछ भी नहीं होएगा. And there will always be some people who will say yes but. So yes but means करेंगे लेकिन इसमें ये प्रॉब्लम है, वो प्रॉब्लम है, तो आपको ये सारे प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने हैं. See, the whole objective of the senior leaders is to solve a problem. You know, if we can't solve a problem, then we are not really justifying the salaries that we are getting. You know, We have to anticipate problems and we have to solve them. Sometimes problems are brought to us and we have to solve it. We can't run away from a problem. किसी में कोई प्रॉब्लम, किसी टीम में कोई बंदा प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट कर रहा है, किसी और टीम में कोई और इशू चल रहा है, टेक्नोलॉजी का इशू है, तो यू टू सॉल्व इट. यू कांट जस्ट सिट इन योर कैबिन एंड थिंक ये प्रॉब्लम चला जाएगा. भी चला जाएगा तो तुमको क्यों रखा है यार? Okay,
Right,
you
sir.
need to step out of your cabin and say, okay, let's solve this problem. It's quite possible that the people who are closer to the ground have an answer to the problem. So it's your job to get that answer and get it implemented. Okay, so
Got it,
that's
sir.
that's the way I would. And I was watching this movie called Rocket Singh Salesman of the Year. It was probably released even before you were born. But
Okay.
but if you see, there is a very uh, at the end of the movie there is a scene where Ranbir Kapoor is telling his old boss, "Okay, boss, you were running the business with numbers, numbers, numbers. मेरे को numbers कभी समझ में ही नहीं आते थे. मेरे को कॉलेज में समझ में नहीं आते थे, मेरे को अभी भी समझ में नहीं आते. आई अंडरस्टैंड पीपल, आई रिलेट टू पीपल. आई ऑलवेज रैन द बिजनेस विद पीपल इन माइंड. They had a problem, I solved their problem. They had a they were demotivated, I motivated them. I didn't throw numbers at them." So it's a very interesting, and that's how, as you go up, numbers become less important, people become more important. Okay, senior leaders have to spend more time with people because ultimately it's the people who are running the show, right? If you are a 20,000 employee company, एक बंदा क्या ही कर लेगा उसमें, right? You are managing 7 people, those 7 people are managing 10 more people, those 10 people are managing 10 more people. So it's a structure. Okay, you go down, meet as many people as you want, but you are ultimately managing those 5 7 people who report to you. And you need to understand that you get the right kind of feedback from them, and your communication down the line is pure. So the more you talk to everybody openly, okay, there is always a game of Chinese whispers. Chinese whispers का गेम मालूम है ना? मैंने किसी को कुछ बताया, उसने जाके किसी और को कुछ बताया, उसने जाके किसी तीसरे को बताया, फिर चौथे को, पांचवे को. बाय द टाइम द सेवेंथ guy hears the message, it is completely distorted.
Change. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you will realize that अरे मैंने क्या बोला था और इन्होंने क्या समझा है. So the more open your communication is, the more directly you talk to people, the clearer the message, the simpler the message, and people's understanding is at a completely different level.
Right, sir. So let me summarize these last few minutes for you guys. So sir talked about few skills, very important skills. First of all, in my reverse में start कर रहा हूँ. So sir talked about कि like communication should be crystal clear. Like if you are giving some message, so it should be clear so that the person on the other side, without any assumption, can understand that. So first of all, communication should have. If you aspire for leadership roles, so be solid on your communication part. Second, sir talked about feedback loop because we all have blind spots and sometimes we miss important parts. That's when these feedbacks loop come into play. They tell us that okay, this we are missing. So feedback loop you need to create. Third, sir talked about anticipate and solve the problems in advance. As a leader, you are not supposed to do everything on your own. You are supposed to see where the system maybe or can have gaps. So you need to plug those gaps in advance or build systems to plug those gaps. एंड सर ने एक इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट भी बोला जिसको तो मैं बहुत ज्यादा एक्टिवली बिलीव करता हूँ लाइक एग्जीक्यूशन में जब आप कर रहे हो सो यू कैन नॉट डू मैनी थिंग्स एट अ टाइम हंड्रेड्स ऑफ थिंग आप अपने टू डू बना के बैठ जाओगे सो कुछ नहीं होने वाला rather you have 3 tasks for a day only. If I did these tasks then a successful day. So 20 days अगर वर्किंग डे हो रहे हैं मंथ में आप 60 टास्क भी कर रहे हो तो दैट इज मोर देन इनफ. अगर आप एक्चुअल में एनालाइज भी करोगे तो पीपल आर डूइंग लेस. अगर 3 टास्क फोकस करोगे यू कैन डू मोर. एंड डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग और फर्स्ट पॉइंट था कि रोल्स आर अनडिफाइंड. अगर आप अनसर्टेनिटी को बियर कर सकते हो समझ सकते हो तो थोड़ा सा माइंड उस तरीके से बिल्ड करना है कि लाइक सिचुएशन आ जाए प्रॉब्लम्स आ जाए तो आप उसको सॉल्व कर पाओ. सो सर मैंने अब मतलब ये मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग थी और आपको भी जो समझ में आएगा गाइस समझ लेना. तो सर मेरा ये क्वेश्चन आपसे कि लाइक अभी जैसे आपके करियर में कंसिस्टेंटली दिख रहा है कि 4 4 6 ईयर का ये आप बहुत कंसिस्टेंटली काम करो. सो पीपल आस्क दिस क्वेश्चन टू मी, डू आई नीड टू be loyal with my employer or like loyal to my career. So what's your take on that? आपको अपने करियर के बारे में सोचना है या फिर मैं 4 साल से इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में हूँ, मेरे बॉस इतने अच्छे, मेरे सीनियर इतने अच्छे, मैं इनको मेंटर मानता हूँ, गुरु मानता हूँ, सो अब मैं इनको छोड़ के कैसे जा सकता हूँ? सो व्हाट्स योर टेक सर ऑन इट?
So there is no, it's not an either or question.
ओके.
Okay. There are, you are going to have a 40-year career. Okay. Now, unfortunately, for the new guys that are coming into, like I have worked from 1991 till 2023, and I'm still working on my own business, but I don't have a boss anymore. I'm I mean, so to that extent, all my clients are my bosses. So I've replaced one boss with bosses, right? Because anybody can call me up and say इतना पैसा है, क्या करना है, वो all of that, right? So in a 35 year
अच्छा.
career, right, you can always decide that this is the time when I will give preference to my career. This is the time when I will give preference to my boss or to my company or to my industry. And remember, we all work for our bosses. Nobody works for a company. कंपनी तो नाम के लिए होती है. ओके. एक ही कंपनी में देर आर गुड बॉसेस एंड देर आर वर्स बॉसेस. जिसका वर्स बॉस है उसको छोड़ देते हैं लोग. जिसका अच्छा बॉस है उसके साथ टिके रहते हैं. और अच्छा बॉस मतलब क्या है कि एनकरेज करता है, स्ट्रेस नहीं देता है, सिखाता है, फीडबैक देता है, अपॉर्चुनिटी देता है, प्रमोशन देता है, इंक्रीमेंट्स देता है. सो ऑल ऑफ दोज थिंग्स, पीपल स्टे विद दिस काइंड ऑफ बॉसेस. And some employees even follow those bosses in different companies, right? They don't necessarily stay with one company, but they stay with one boss, and they follow that guy wherever that guy goes, and that guy also becomes comfortable because he also knows that, these guys know my style, I know their style, I know their strengths and weaknesses, they know my strengths and weaknesses. So we complement each other quite well. So when people move from one company to another company, they go like a team. And it's good because that means if the team goes, then there is no time spent in getting to know each other. There is no time spent in figuring out each other, and you can just quickly get down to business and start doing the things that need to be done. So to answer your question, you have to figure it out. There are no right or wrong answers. I mean, unfortunately, if we had a nice little crystal ball to say कि बहुत 6 महीने क्या होने वाला है, it would be great, right? But that's not the case. Sometimes you land up somewhere and you take a certain decision based on certain things. The only thing you have to do is, only thing I would suggest is that don't take a decision based on emotions. कि अरे उसने मेरे को बोल दिया, अभी मैं नौकरी छोड़ रहा हूँ. ओके. अरे मेरा इंक्रीमेंट अच्छा नहीं हुआ है तो मैं नौकरी छोड़ रहा हूँ. अरे मेरा इंक्रीमेंट अच्छा है लेकिन उस बंदे का इंक्रीमेंट मेरे से ज्यादा है तो मैं नौकरी छोड़ रहा हूँ. लुक एट, ठंडे दिमाग से आप सोचो. ओके. जनरली when you go to sleep and you wake up the next day, you are in a much better state of mind. So don't take a decision, what they say कि अपना एक वो फाइट और फ्लाइट रिस्पॉन्स आता है. ओके. वो कि अगर अपने, when we are under stress, we get into the fight or flight mode. Either we'll fight or we'll run. Okay. So you need to get out of that mode and then take a decision. Okay,
Right,
what is
sir.
the smart thing to do? And always have somebody who understands you very well, who understands your strengths and weaknesses, who understands your likes and dislikes, who can guide you. अरे तुमने ये सोचा है क्या? It could be your friend, it could be your parent, it could be your sibling, it could be your spouse. Okay, it could, as you grow older, like I have, it could be your children also, right? So we all have blind spots. Okay,
Right.
we all think that I'm doing the right thing. But when you ask your confidants, they will tell you कि नहीं ये ऐसे करोगे तो अच्छा रहेगा. Always ask for feedback. Okay, you'll be surprised at what people tell you that you have completely missed. Okay, so feedback is a very, very important thing. Always go to your boss. See, performance appraisals is a very what you can say. It's a structured process created by HR to uh, to give feedback to employees. But there is nothing stopping you from asking feedback all the time. आपने एक अच्छा सा प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट किया, आपने एक ईमेल लिख दिया, आपने एक रिसर्च रिपोर्ट बनाया, आपने कुछ एनालाइज किया, फीडबैक मांगो ना। आपके कलीग से मांगो, आपके जूनियर से मांगो, आपके सीनियर्स से मांगो, आपके दोस्तों से मांगो, सबसे फीडबैक लो। इट विल जस्ट हेल्प यू बी मोर इफेक्टिव एंड मोर एफिशिएंट। यू आर ऑन म्यूट।
So, sir, my second last question is that as we grow higher, as we grow high in the ladder, corporate ladder, so what are the skills that technical skills or soft skills? What become most important? Like what people see in a leadership role? Like if you suppose you are a CXO and you are hiring head of the division, some kind of person. So what you look into that person? What are the skills like soft skills
I
seen,
think
technical,
people
what
management skills are more important as you go up.
people
Okay,
management skills?
as you become a general manager, I think nobody expects you to be an expert on everything. You're a generalist. So let's say you become a, a CFO or a chief operations officer. Are you going to know each and every word of SEBI's 500-page mutual fund regulations? The answer is no. Okay. And what people are looking for is integrity and honesty and trustworthiness. You can't lie, you can't say something which is dishonest. You can be wrong, okay, but as long as you come back and you say, oh, I was wrong, this is the correct
Right.
answer, people will trust you. I think as long as people trust you, you will be fine. Okay, you may not be on top of everything, you may not know every number in your financial statement, you know not know every clause in every regulation or in every law, and there are people for that. एंड यू शुड नो कि ये मेरे को नहीं आता है, तो आप आपका जो एक्सपर्ट टीम मेंबर है आप उसको खड़ा कर दो सामने, और आप बोल दो कि मेरे को नहीं मालूम है, ये बंदा है, ये आपको जवाब देगा। आई यूज टू डू अ वेरी सिंपल थिंग। आई वॉज नॉट एन एक्सपर्ट on accounting. And if you look at my career, you know, I have been in the chairman's office for 5 years. I was doing tax in my first 4 years. Then I did a marketing role for almost 4 5 years. So when GST was introduced, it was introduced when I was doing a marketing role. I was never an expert in GST, and even today I'm not an expert in GST, but I understand enough of GST to explain to a simple to a person in simple terms कि ये जीएसटी है, ये ऐसे काम करता है, कौन सा फॉर्म है, उसकी ड्यू डेट क्या है, वो my team used to handle it. I would ensure that they had the right tools and knowledge and resources to do their job. But I would never claim to be an expert in income tax but I would hire the person who I believed was an expert, and he would get the job done. Because at the board level, you want to be compliant. You don't want penalties to be imposed on your company for not filing things on time or doing something terribly wrong or whatever. Everybody can make a mistake.
Right, sir.
Don't try to cover it up. Be honest about it. Like I said, as long as you have the trust of your boss, you will be fine.
Got it, sir. So my last question is, all the people who are going to watch this, most of them are working for the past 4 or 5 years in the industry. For the next 1 or 2 year, which skill is like most crucial for them so that they get leadership roles, they grow in their career, like they can make extraordinary rewards for them. So what skills they need to learn for the next 1 2 years?
Also, soft skills are something that you have to keep developing as you go up the ladder. Okay. The basic foundation of knowledge, understanding of whatever you are doing. Okay, you could be an accountant, you could be a fund manager, you could be a research analyst. आपकी जो बेसिक फाउंडेशन है वो आपको तो स्ट्रेंथन करनी ही करनी है. सो लेट्स से लाइक वी डिस्कस दैट यू पास्ड योर सीए फाइनल, यू गॉट 60% मार्क्स, 40% तो आपको नहीं आता है. So you have to keep learning that balance 40%. And one of the ways in which, because I have changed industries, one of the ways in which I've always kept learning is I've asked questions. Okay. I have never felt shy of asking questions. And people have come up to me and said that, oh, you ask a lot of questions. I said, yeah, but do you have the answers? Okay. And if you don't have the answer, then I'm going to go and find that answer myself. Okay. I've always retained the ability to do hard work. Okay. CA, CFA, they prepare you for doing hard work. तो अगर आपको कोई 50 पेज का डॉक्यूमेंट पढ़ना है, एनालाइज करना है, इम्प्लीमेंट करना है, तो कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, मैं आज भी कर सकता हूँ. Okay, so these skills always stay with you for a long period of time, and they will always support you whenever required. Yeah. So there is no rocket science to this. There is no abracadabra moment, you know. अभी artificial intelligence आ रहा है, तो use artificial intelligence. So many employers are, you know, giving Copilot, you know, Gemini is available free of cost. Use all of that to, you know, make your day-to-day activities easier, faster, more efficient, and go on to do more value-added work, you know. Always try to add more value than what you are expected. See, performance appraisal में the highest, you know, what do you call the result that you can see is exceeds expectations. What is exceeds expectations? You're supposed to deliver something up to here, but if you deliver more than that, then they say far exceeds expectations, meets expectations. अरे तेरे को 10 काम करने थे, तूने 10 काम कर दिए. You are meeting expectations. तो तेरे को 10 काम करने थे, तूने 12 कर दिए, तो you are exceeding expectation. तेरे को 10 काम करने थे, तूने 15 कर दिए. Far exceeds expectations. So how do you reach that far exceeds expectations? By using all this AI, okay, using all these tools and skills in order to do much more than what you are expected to do.
Got it, sir. Got it. So let me summarize in few lines, sir. So we talked about CA, CFA, and finance, like ranking and all, how you can prepare yourself for CA final exams and all. Then we talked about switching jobs. We talked about different roles. Sir gave us a perspective from the top level, like how a CFO thinks, how a CEO thinks, and then we talked about trying different things in your career, and then how to be more productive, active volunteering for communities in which we are serving, we are working. And then we talked about skills. Like at last, we talked about the most crucial thing, like in this AI era. So I said, asking question is your like superpower. No matter what people say, if you have questions, you can get answers. If you do not have question, there is no chance. No. So asking question is a superpower, and don't ever doubt that. And the last thing was exceeding expectation. It is the like combination powerhouse. If you are exceeding expectation, then you need not to ask for promotion because they will follow you. So I had a good time recording this podcast itself. So literally मतलब हम तो मिले काफी बार, हम लोगों ने पर्सनल इंटरेक्शन भी, और आई थॉरली इंजॉयड. सो मेरे लिए पर्सपेक्टिव ये था कि मैं जैसे टॉप लेवल पे लोग कैसे मैनेज करते हैं, क्योंकि वी आर ऑल्सो बिल्डिंग एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. सो हाउ वी कैन बिल्ड इन सच अ वे दैट the people, experienced people like you have already done that. So thank you so much, sir, for giving so much wisdom on this show, on this podcast, and looking forward to meet you in person, sir. Thank you so much for joining here. Thank you so much on behalf
Thank
of
you very much.
everyone, sir. Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you,
meet
Prince. It
somewhere.
was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah. So guys, I'll see you in some other podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much.